Hey, YouTube Rubberneckers. My name is Benjamin Boyce. I'm coming to you live or recorded at the Evergreen College. Hello, this is Benjamin Boyce, and welcome to the somewhat arbitrarily enumerated 100th episode of the Expose Evergreen saga, which is a very thorough investigation by an Evergreen State College alum of the goings-on before, during, and after the 2017 spring protests, which were very famous and are still famous somewhat about 3 years later. Now, what happens every year is that the college puts on a State of the College address, which is a presentation by the current president of the college, George Bridges, about the state of the college. Every year after this happens, I go through and I edit it down somewhat sarcastically and show how George Bridges is basically a bullshitter. And that's one pattern of behavior that I've seen in the 3 years that I've been studying the leadership style of this man, George Bridges. I see that he doesn't not so much not have a spine as that spine of his is so sinuous that it adapts to whoever he's speaking to. And he has an inability to actually be straight and honest. He's always polishing the facts to make himself look good or to make his will look like the will that should be followed. This year, something happened with the State of the College address. First and foremost, instead of recording it, they streamed it and did not record it. I was lucky enough to land probably one of the only existent copies of the State of the College address. Second thing that was different about this year was that instead of George Bridges himself stating the state of the college, which is not a state that is necessarily the strongest state for a state college to be in, instead of him doing the work of presenting everything, he had his vice presidents, and there are several of them, talk about the state of the college. The cool thing about this is that we actually get people being honest, or at least being true to what they conceive of as reality with regards to the numbers of the college and the purpose of the college. So for this video, we're basically going to focus on two main aspects of the State of the College address. One is the state of their equity movement, which in my estimation is what caused the major intersectional breakdown, and two, the financial status of the college, which is not good, and with current events as they are, leads me to believe that this college will be filing for bankruptcy, if not within the next week, then by the end of the summer. So let's dive in.
It is our tradition to begin public events like this by acknowledging the indigenous people of the Northwest. It is their land on which this building and this campus resides, and that was ceded to the federal government in 1854. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the anxiety that many of us are feeling around the spread of the coronavirus in our state. I sent you a message last Friday describing actions that we all can take to help prevent the spread of the virus.
Since the 2017 events, the college has always opened up every one of its official proceedings with a land acknowledgement. That particular virtue signal has gone by the wayside because the colonizing force of the Americas is being upstaged by a virulent colonizing force called the COVID-19 virus. However, the infection at the heart of Evergreen is still going strong, and we have the interim VP of Inclusive Excellence and Student Success, which is basically a rebranded diversity, equity, and inclusion sector of the college, which is rebranded because they can't actually say what they're actually doing here, because it's actually very illiberal in my estimation. Anyways, the current interim VP of Student Success and Inclusive Excellence, Therese Saliba, talks about the events of 2017, and refreshingly is open with exactly what that lesson taught the college.
This work is never done. This work is an ongoing process. If you think that we arrive when we get there and we're done and we can check it off our list, then we will be back in 5 years or 10 years with the same kind of questions. This is ongoing work.
Evergreen has a long history of valuing and investing in diversity, but our 2019 accreditation report recognized that, quote, while the college is able to cite numerous efforts to enhance diversity and equity, the institution still has much work to do in this arena. That's probably not surprising to most of you. I'd like to acknowledge the events of 2016-17 and how student protests amplified the call to move more quickly towards racial equity and social justice, and resonated with the urgency expressed by students, college students across the nation. These events created conflict, trauma, and increased external pressures with lingering impacts today. But they also underscored our need as a community to reassert our values and commitments as a community.
So dig this. The events of 2017 and the fallout from 2017 have caused the college not to reevaluate their values, but to reassert their values. Now, these values are very difficult to critique because on the surface, they are the best values ever to hold and to behold, which is community love, inclusion of various different people, diversity of various different people, equity, which means that everybody starts at the same level and has the same opportunity to achieve success. All of that's wonderful. But if you look at how the values are implemented, this little wiggle worm of identity politics comes in and corrupts the entire project, as you can see here.
In theory, inclusive excellence calls for a vital transformation of our institution by embedding and institutionalizing inclusive practices in every effort and every aspect across the college. I'd like to also share some examples of inclusive excellence in practice. We provide campus-wide programming. George talked about the Equity Symposium. We have the Juneteenth celebration honoring our elders and our history. Last week, you may have seen the Black History Month celebration, which was great in the library lobby.
The students of color need to be placed at the center of our work, and we need to see and value the assets that they bring.
Each of you have run for office as women of color against white males with inherent privilege. What was that experience like, and what challenges and opportunities are present when women of color run for elected office?
All of them.
My district is about 83% white, so like so much of Washington, we don't see a lot of richness and color and diversity.
While we specifically calling out white men, in my primary, the other opponent was a white woman who's also a Democrat.
Mm-hmm. In Deborah and I's district, in Kent alone, there's 148 languages spoken where we live. And we were represented by 3 men that don't look like us. Just close your eyes. Yep, that's what they look like. And so for us, and to be able to run with another woman of color and to say to our district, we are here to actually represent you and make decisions in the legislature that affect you, that don't affect men of extreme privilege.
Again, the system was never made to benefit or lift people like me.
2016 started it when we didn't get the outcome that we wanted. And that's when we women of color said, enough is enough. I've had enough. I'm tired of struggling. And now I'm going to go get those votes, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to do right by the people. You know why I'm going to do right by the people? Because I am the people. Food stamps, Section 8, financial aid, loans, college degree, struggling, single mom. I'm you.
We teach this story to children. We call the main character Goldilocks. She almost always, actually I've never seen a brown Goldilocks. She always has white skin, blue eyes, and this blonde curled hair. We're literally teaching it's okay for white folks to do this, and then that brown folks can't be mad about it.
Our goal is to create a campus climate that cultivates a strong sense of belonging, embracing and affirming all through open-hearted engagement, cultural competence and cultural humility, and individual empowerment. This is our work, our collective work as a community. As we strive to create a community with justice, inclusion, mutual respect, care, compassion, and belonging at its center.
It is not about creating an intellectual space. It is not. Do you understand that? It's about creating a home here.
On the surface, it seems to me that equity is a portion of belonging with a side order of grievance, but in practice, over and over again, if you watch the videos that Evergreen consistently suppresses now, you will see an order of grievance with a side of belonging. There's all this rhetoric around inclusivity, diversity, and equity, but when you get down to it, it's the opposite of diversity of thought, it's singularity of thought, it's the opposite of inclusion, it's very exclusive on who belongs and who doesn't belong. And then when you get down to equity, of course, they say that equity is not equality. Equity is equalization, which doesn't make sense in the context of a college. This is the primary tension between what Evergreen espouses and what it needs to do. They need to completely redesign what the college is about. They are teetering on the brink of destruction and dissolution, as we will get to in a moment. And yet, they consistently double down and not revise, but reassert their values, which sound very, very, very nice. But when it gets down to it, they're either condescending or illiberal. You can't escape that. You cannot retrofit an academic institution with a moral framework and expect that the basic core function of the academic institution will survive and not be gummed up by all this moralistic processing. Anyway, so that is the moral framework that Evergreen is still pronouncing and promulgating. What about the numbers? What about how Evergreen is supposed to survive?
Our current situation, some of you have heard me say, we've missed our revenue targets this year by $1.2 million. 0.4% of the operating budget. There are multiple causes of that. There are a few more empty seats in the graduate programs than we were expecting to find this year. The mix of in-state and out-of-state students is a little bit leaner than we expected it to be this year. A significant contribution, we retained fewer students from fall to winter than we typically do.
To pipe in here, I have some harder numbers from an insider at Evergreen. Quote, fall 2019 to winter 2020, which is one quarter, we've already lost an average of 16% of all freshmen. Of significance is that we are particularly losing out-of-state freshmen, losing them at a rate of 19% compared to 14% of in-state. We are losing new transfers out of state at a rate of 26%, in-state at 11%. So we are hemorrhaging students and the ones that pay the most.
I can see that we can keep going like this for a year. We can keep going like this for 2 years. Sometime in the third year, we are in a serious problem. We have come to call that the cliff. Sometime after 2.5 years or so, we have a significant problem.
They've been losing summer enrollment for a number of years now, like very drastically been losing out on that income. And that was how they were restocking their slush fund, their emergency fund, their reserves, as they call it. And since 2017, the Bridges administration has been dumping a lot of money into lawsuits, into the equity programs, and into marketing. All that money's basically dried up. They are now on the brink of a disaster. Because of COVID-19, because of the virus, they are now putting all of their classes online. Evergreen's main selling point is the experience of being at Evergreen. And as an institution, they have years and years of experience specifically in hands-on learning. All those hands are going virtual now. What is that going to do with enrollment?
I think of this as a model of enrollment going forward. So there are a lot of inputs into this model, and the actual numbers matter less to me than the general shape of this. I hasten to add, stability is not the same as sustainability. And so this level of enrollment is not adequate to support a a campus this size, it's not adequate to meet our obligations to the state of Washington that expects us to serve more students than this. The financial future of Evergreen will be written in the 21-23 biennium. And late this summer, we will be turning into the legislature our budget request for the 21-23 biennium. As we do that, we need to have a story to tell about Evergreen's future.
There was incredible work done, as George mentioned, with the legislature, with Jeremy Moen leading the charge, with George, our government relations director, to really make sure not only that that everybody knew what was going on campus, but that they were excited about it. And it's amazing how that has changed our relationship with the state government. You can see that folks are really eager to engage with Evergreen students, with faculty and staff at opportunities that we've built at places like the Lord Mansion. But even as late as Friday evening, that really stood us in good stead in the legislature when there was some talk on the floor of perhaps reducing our funding. Our friends in the legislature will stand up on our behalf and to talk about the students we serve, how we serve them, and the great value we're bringing to the state of Washington. So that was advocacy for our college. Lifetime. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for that work. It was incredible.
This amendment doesn't propose to eliminate Evergreen or slash their budget to some unjustifiable degree. It merely says that the general fund state support we give to Evergreen State College should be at the same level that we give to every other regional college in this state. Why should we reward Evergreen State College for their declining enrollment? It doesn't make any sense, Madam Speaker. Instead, we think that we should eliminate lunch co-pays for students in grades 4 through 12 and continue to build upon the work to subsidize ASB cards for kids on free and reduced lunch.
The question before the body is adoption of Amendment 1697. A roll call has been requested. The Speaker is about to open the roll call machine. The Speaker has opened the roll call machine. The Speaker is about to lock the roll call machine. The Speaker has locked the roll call machine. Will the clerk please report the record?
Madam Speaker, there are 39 yeas, 55 nays, 4 excused.
The amendment is not adopted.
This is one of the most exciting moments in my career because I've seen an institution embrace difficult challenges and move and lead and change itself in ways that will benefit our students. We will begin pursuing this summer in the strategic plan legislative support. We will make in our August budget submission big asks. It is not going to be more of the same. It is not going to be more of what we're doing now. It has to be new. And as I think Amanda said, it has to draw the attention of the governor, of the legislature, and it will.
No matter what story they come up with, it is my opinion that it's going to be very difficult to beat the story that a lot of people in Washington state will be telling the legislature at the end of this current crisis. Who knows how many different small businesses, who knows how many individuals will be asking for support, will be asking directly for government aid in this time of crisis. What's going to be the mood of the legislature when they see this small liberal arts college that pooped its pants a few years ago and hasn't been able, one, to recover from that, or two, to actually fix the problem at the heart of their poopy diapers? What is the legislature going to do when they have to balance the needs of the state and the needs of this small experimental college? I think that this spells doom for Evergreen as we know it. I think that this is the perfect opportunity for the Board of Trustees and the Bridges administration to say, oh, well, the virus hit. We don't have to actually be accountable for the fact that we could neither backpedal nor could we overcome the unsightliness that was the disaster that we all oversaw and then kind of just excused ourselves of. So I really do think that this is a turning point for Evergreen State College. They're now trying to go online. We'll see how that works. That will likely lose them a lot of enrollment. Then when they go to the legislature, because that is what they're pinning their hopes on, is to get more money from the legislature to operate, the legislature is going to say, we can't support you right now. And because most of them are state employees, they will get a severance package. I'm sure that there won't be a lot of unemployment for those professors and administrators. It's going to be the low-level workers that are going to suffer most. How's that for equity?